Hello everybody and welcome on in here to our user group webinar. My name is Jim and I'm coming to you live on a sunny and cool day here in Columbus, Ohio. Welcome on in. We're going to be spending the next 20 minutes or so talking about creating giver records in the Church Windows program for the donations module. Before we get started discussing all of that, a word about your GoToWebinar control panel, which you should have on your screen there if you hear my voice right now. It has a little red arrow button in the upper left-hand corner that allows you to either minimize that control panel or maximize that control panel. Minimizing it gives you a little more room on your screen there to see what we're talking about in our webinar here. Maximizing that gives you access to the different features there in that control panel, including the questions section there. So as we're going through the topic here of adding giver records into Church Windows, if you have any questions about that topic, feel free to go ahead and type those into that questions section. Once I'm done with the presentation, I will leave the room open for a little while longer to answer any questions that you might have on this topic here. I don't see us necessarily taking up the full 20 minutes here on this topic, but we will see how we do. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and open up our donations module. In order to be able to use the donations module in Church Windows, you're going to need two things to be in place. You're going to need the church approved entities that folks are available, that will have available to contribute to, like your general operating fund, your building fund, any of your memorials, etc. Things that they are free to contribute to. But before even that, you need people in your system that you can record the giving to. So generally speaking, this is going to be the very first thing you're going to be setting up in the Church Windows program. So anybody who is already, any families, any individuals, any groups that are already set up in the membership module by default are already available to you here in donations that you can record giving to them, regardless of whether they have a giver number assigned to them or not. So anybody over in membership, they're already set up. You're ready to record giving to them, by default already. But if you need to add new records to your system to record giving to, that's what we're going to be talking about here. We're going to start by talking about adding individuals here directly into the donations module. So adding new givers here in donations is done by coming to the Givers tab, clicking on this tab here along the top of your screen. And from the buttons that appear below there, you can click on Add Individual with the little green plus button right there. Gives you a couple of different options here. Adding a donations individual giver, adding a membership member, or adding a membership visitor. Donations individual givers are records that exist here in the donations module, but not over in the membership module. So folks that you add here as donations individual giver, you will be able to record giving to them here in donations. You'll be able to print a donations statement report for them so that they can declare their tax deductions for their end of year tax forms. But they do not appear over in the membership module if you want to, for example, record attendance for them, or you want to have their name print on a birthday list or on labels or in a directory over in membership. Folks that you add here only exist here in the donations module. We will talk about adding folks over into membership in just a moment. So adding a donations individual is done by clicking where it says Add Donations Individual Giver. Takes you to this window right here. If you wish to record a giver number, you can do that here. But again, it's not required to track giving for them. Let's see. There's a checkbox here for whether or not they receive a statement when you generate your giving statements. You know, if you're creating somebody as a loose offering giver here, you would uncheck this. They don't need to receive a statement at the end of the year, but mostly you'll have that checked. Then you record their information in here. First name, last name, any middle names that you might see under there. Actually, let's do it this way, William Smith. And then if they go by a preferred first name, for example, Bill as opposed to William, you can put their nickname in here, put a check mark where it says use nickname. So now, for example, if you are printing a donation statement for this record here, it'll show up as Bill Smith as opposed to for William Smith here. Okay. You can record individual comments that show up under Manage Givers for this person right here. Then you can add contact information below that in terms of address. There's a little green plus button over here where you can add their address in here. And you can simply record their address information in there if you wish. Then over to the right here for contacts, there are a couple of different types of contacts you can create for folks. If you click on the little green plus arrow to the right of that, you can give them a home phone number or you can give them an email address here. The email address would be required to record for them if you wanted to be able to, of course, email them a donation statement report. So there is a feature in Church Windows where you can email donation statements to folks. If you don't record an email address for this individual, you can't email it to them. So and you could record that on there. Once you're done filling in that information, there is an Add Giver button down here in the lower right hand corner right here where you actually add that person to your database. Boom, puts them in your system there. Once, if you want to continue adding additional folks, you can continue filling that information in over here. Once you're done adding this donations giver, you click this Finished Adding Givers button here in the lower right hand corner. Okay. So that's adding a donations giver into the system. To kind of reiterate this, you know, adding folks who are donations givers into your system here makes them only available here in donations. We had a question come in. I did not mention this. At this time in version 19 of Church Windows, it is not possible to take a donations giver and simply activate them and make them available over in the membership module. We are nearly finished with version 20 of Church Windows, the next version of our program that we will have available. And you will be able to do that in version 20. So that's one of many exciting, cool new things we're going to have in version 20 is the ability to take donations givers and make them available in membership and vice versa. Take a member record and transfer them so that they're only available in donations. So you can't transfer donations givers over to membership currently, but it'll be there very soon. Okay, so next we want to talk about adding individuals into membership. Sometimes you'll be in the middle of a donation batch. I'm going to go ahead and open up Enter Donations here. Record giving for Sunday's date here. Here underneath the giver box right here is a search box that you can type in a name if you don't recognize it. So for example, if you have a check in front of you, you can type that name in there. Oops. If you type in a name there, it does not appear on your drop-down list. You don't necessarily want to add that person into the donations module. So you can actually add records directly over to the membership module right here from donations. You can either click on this small green plus button right over here to the right of the giver drop down, and clicking on that gives you the add member, add visitor options here. Or again, like we had talked about, you can come here to the Givers tab, click on Add Individual at the top, and it gives you the ability to add somebody into the membership module or the visitor database from up here. So let's go ahead and add somebody to the members section. This gives you the Add to Member File window right here where you can fill in any information that's appropriate from here. Let's go ahead and create a new household for these folks. Fill in any appropriate information in there. On the left-hand side of the screen is the household it will create for this person over in the membership module. And fill in any appropriate information under here. Once you're finished filling all that stuff in, you can click OK. It does give us a reminder that the directory report order is a field over in membership that really helps when generating reports over there. I'm going to go ahead and say yes and fill that in as a primary person in that household and click OK. So it adds that record over into membership, and now you're ready to go ahead and add giving for that person here in this donation batch that we're working on. Okay, so in addition, let me clear that donation and close out of that window. In addition to being able to add individuals into donations or into the membership module, you can also record giving for a group here in the donations module, again by going to your Givers tab along the top here and clicking on Add Group. A lot of times there might be local businesses or organizations that you can record giving for into the donations module. And then this is where you would record that information. Again, you can record a giver number on here. If you wanted to title the group here. Oops. And any further information you can record on here. Now that will be a group that you have available to record gifts into here in the donations module. So that's adding a group into donations that you can record giving for. Last thing we do want to touch on is you can also now here in the donations module record giving to groups and classes, or groups and or classes that you have set up over in the membership module. So I want to touch on that here since we got a little extra time here over here in the membership module. Here in the membership module, underneath your attendance menu here is a section here that says set up groups and classes. This is where you can review all of the groups and classes you already have set up here in membership or even add new ones. So if I click on our Setup Groups and Classes button here, it takes us to this window where you've got a hierarchical structure, easy for me to say, up here in the upper left-hand corner, where you've got all of your classes grouped in here, your committees grouped in here, etc. So you can organize this however you see fit in here. So if we had, for example, a new fellowship group that was going to hold some kind of fundraiser and you wanted to record giving for them, you could certainly create that by highlighting the group that you want that to belong to here on your list. And then down here at the bottom of the window, you can click your Add Groups and Classes button down here. Got your Baker's Dozen group you're going to create. Click your Add button over here. You'll see that appear underneath your fellowship groups. Okay. So now that that's been created, if we go over into the Donations module, now you can record giving for any of these groups or individuals that you've created here today. So if I come over here, do I have to refresh this? Did I save it? I didn't save it, that's why. Back here under Setup Groups and Classes, once you've added that group, you have to click your Save button here in the upper right-hand corner for that to actually get saved on there. Close out of there. Now, back over here in Donations, I'm going to go ahead and close out of there. Create a new batch. There's our Baker's Dozen group. They held their bake sale. $200 check that they can donate. So there's Bob's Hardware that we've created, listed on here. There's Jerry Potter that we've created earlier as well. So all set there. So that's adding individuals and groups into either the Donations module or the Membership module so that you can then record giving to them here in Donations. That's all I've got for you. If you're all set to get on with your day, feel free to click on the X in the upper right-hand corner of your GoToWebinar control panel. For everybody who's all set to go here, thank you so much for joining me here today. Hope you have a lovely afternoon. What I'll do now is I'll answer a couple of questions as they have come through in here. Question about editing or correcting names and addresses of givers that you've already added. Well, it depends on if they're a donations giver or if they're a membership giver. Editing donations giver information is done here in Donations under this Manage Givers screen right here. So if I come in here, when you're looking at the Manage Givers window, there is a column on the screen here that shows whether a particular record is a donations giver or not, right here down under this column. So if there's a little check mark in there, you know that that is a donations giver. If there's not a check mark, that is somebody over in the membership module. So if I want to edit somebody's information here for like contact info, I simply highlight their name here under Manage Givers. I go to the Contacts tab over here. Well, if I wanted to edit their email address, that's where I'd go under Contacts. You'd click on this little yellow pencil button here to edit their email address. If you wanted to edit their address information, you go to the Address tab, and again, there's a little Edit button over here to the right. If you need to adjust their name, you can do it on the Name tab. So if there's an adjustment that needs to be done there, you simply change it on the Name tab there. For records over in membership, that's all done in membership here. So under membership module, if you come to members, editing individual information is done here on the membership members or the membership visitors window. And you simply make the changes that need to be made over there. Um, okay, so a question about printing a donation statement for an individual. Well, I mean, it's under the donation statement report, and printing a single donation statement is simply done by making sure their name is checked on the grid over here. So when you go to donation statement, it'll give you a big old list of all the names. If you uncheck print for all using this button down here at the bottom, you simply check next to the person's name whose statement you want to print, and then you print your statement from there. So it's a matter of whose names are checked on this grid for whose statement you want to print there. If you have a duplicate in donations, how do you? Okay, so we're getting a little bit outside of the scope of the class here, but there is a number of different scenarios in terms of duplicate records in church windows. What I would say on that topic is here on the Manage Givers window is where you can go to see if you have duplicate records. And you'd see the same name on this grid twice if you had duplicate records. And you can tell where those records exist by looking at the bracket after their name here in the last name column. If there's a bracket V after their name, there's an extra record you have in the visitors file. If there's a bracket D after their name, then that's a record here in the donations module. If there's no bracket after their name, they've got a record over in the membership members section. What you do is you need to then, if it's a record that needs marked as inactive, you would simply select their name. If they're a donations record, there's a checkbox right here for inactive and terminated to get rid of that extra record. In membership, if you have an extra record, it is the field called reason for termination, which is right here. If you mark somebody with a reason for termination over here in membership, then you can't record giving for them any longer. And then the last thing that you do in terms of multiple records here is if you need to consolidate those gifts onto a single person's record, you have some gifts on one version of the record and some gifts on the other version of the record. That's all taken care of here under the Givers tab where it says Transfer Donations. You'd select one of the records here on the left side, and you'll see the gifts listed here. And then you select the person who you want to transfer that giving to on the right side, and you click your Transfer Selected button to move those gifts over. So that's a quickie way. Quickie explanation of how to get around duplicate givers. We also have some documentation here on our website. If you come to churchwindows.com and you scroll down to the bottom of our homepage, there's a little search box right here where it says Site Search, this little thing right here. And for this topic, I'm just typing in the word duplicate. And you'll see that we've got documentation for handling duplicates right here. So just come to churchwindows.com, go to the little site search down in the lower right-hand corner, type in the topic you're looking for, and you'll be able to find more information about that there. Okay, I will leave the room open for another moment or two if you have any other questions about givers in the donations module. had myself muted there. Sorry about that. So, question about version 20. Um, Adding giver numbers to individual records. You can do that in version 19. You just find a membership record, and you can add the giver number from there. I think I was muted when I was talking about who's you're required to print a statement for. So that's my mistake. Sorry about that. If somebody asks you for a donation statement, you are required by law to give them one. And short of that, the only time you're required to give somebody a statement is if they've given you a single gift of $250 or more. So anything short of those two criteria, you're not required by law to assign it, to give a donation statement to somebody. So that's the only time you're required to do it. But anything short of that is up to the church's discretion. So. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the room up here. Thank you so much for joining me here, guys. Hope you have a nice afternoon. And if you have any further questions about Church Windows, feel free to give us a call. Our support line number is 800-533-5227. Again, thanks for joining me, everybody. Hope you have a nice afternoon. Bye now.